Black Panther and Iron Man are two of Marvel's most popular heroes. T'Challa and Tony Stark are genuinely iconic characters who, in recent years, have transcended comics to become two of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, thanks to Chadwick Boseman and Robert Downey Jr., respectively. While they seem like very different people from very different backgrounds on the surface, they've actually got a lot more in common than you might think, and we're gonna look deeper into that notion in this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of our great new videos.
He's an interesting character. That is going to be such a different thing for the audience on the screen. There's something very special about him.
They were both created by Marvel royalty in the 1960s. It's fair to say that both Black Panther and Iron Man have extremely strong roots. They were both created in the 1960s during the era known as the Silver Age of comic books, by some of Marvel's most iconic and talented creators. Marvel legend Stan Lee was the main man behind the creation of both characters, while the late great Jack Kirby was responsible for the early artwork of them both. All things considered, there's no denying that both characters came from good stock. Iron Man was initially created as a means for Stan Lee to explore Cold War themes, particularly the role of American technology and industry in the fight against communism. He's subsequently been updated systematically to fit in with more contemporary issues. Black Panther, meanwhile, was the first superhero of African descent in mainstream American comics, helping to break down racial barriers in the industry. Go T'Challa! Both heroes served important purposes and have stood the test of time to rightfully become true icons of pop culture.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off, what are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
They're both extremely rich. Both T'Challa and Tony Stark are incredibly rich, but which one is the richest may surprise you. Stark is, of course, CEO of Stark Industries, the largest corporation in the Marvel Universe. Having started out manufacturing weapons, he expanded into other sectors, including chemicals, computing, medicine, food, and security. He's also founded the first construction project in the Negative Zone, served as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and each of his Iron Man suits is estimated to be worth around $100 million. But he's not as rich as T'Challa, which means he isn't even the richest Avenger. T'Challa is actually royalty and has the GDP of an entire nation to play with, an incredibly prosperous, technologically advanced nation at that.
Stop it, stop it.
Wakanda is one of only 2 places on the planet where vibranium can be sourced naturally. It's the rarest metal in the world and undoubtedly one of the most useful, as it can absorb any vibration or kinetic energy. It's also a powerful mutagen, giving it potential medical and military applications. It's been speculated that 1 gram of vibranium could be worth up to $100 million, and T'Challa owns the biggest supply in the world. Is it any wonder he's so rich? Stark's estimated wealth is said to be $100 billion, while T'Challa's could be anywhere between 500 billion and 90 trillion. Who?
Your work on anti-electron collisions is unparalleled, and I'm a huge fan of the way you lose control and turn into an enormous green rage monster.
Thanks.
They're both geniuses. One of the first attributes you think of when Tony Stark comes to mind is his incredibly high intellect, but that's not really the case with T'Challa. However, the fact is both men are bona fide geniuses. Stark is an inventive genius whose expertise includes the fields of mathematics, physics, chemistry, computer science, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. He graduated from MIT with advanced degrees in physics and engineering. At the age of 17, he went on to develop his knowledge by studying subjects as wide-ranging as artificial intelligence and quantum mechanics. His expertise also extends to his ingenuity in dealing with tough situations, such as equally intelligent foes and death traps. He's generally considered to be one of the great minds in the Marvel Universe, rivaling the likes of Reed Richards, Hank Pym, Victor Von Doom, and Bruce Banner.
Textbook narcissism. Agreed?
T'Challa's intelligence genuinely matches up to Stark's. He's a polymath genius with a photographic memory, and he's officially one of the 8 smartest people on Marvel Earth. His academic accomplishments include a PhD in physics from Oxford University, and he also combined alchemy with science to create a new scientific field called shadow physics, which allowed him to track vibranium on a quantum level, craft weapons that are effective against vibranium. Impressive, right?
Lighter, thinner, and improved.
Very nice.
It's got some swag.
They both possess incredible technology. Much like the fact that everyone knows Tony Stark is a genius, everyone also knows he possesses incredible technology. It's the reason he's a superhero after all. But T'Challa is more than just a man in a suit of vibranium armor as well. He possesses some very high-tech stuff himself. Everybody knows Stark possesses an abundance of armors of his own creation. That really goes without saying, many of which serve very specific purposes. But he has access to much more than just those.
Lab's all set up, boss.
Oh, actually, he's the boss. I just pay for everything and design everything and make everyone look cooler.
As well as creating things like the SHIELD helicarrier and Quinjet, he's also created armored robots called mandroids, a particle beam torpedo, life model decoys,
You have reached the life model decoy of Tony Stark. Please leave a message.
rockets, landmines, satellites, sea tanks, and even transistor-powered roller skates. No, really, roller skates.
In my own defense, that was last week.
As for T'Challa, well, he's the monarch of the world's most technologically advanced nation. It's fairly obvious he has access to amazing tech. His standard gear includes cloaking tech, teleportation tech, energy-dampening boots, shielding composed of hard light, and vibranium energy daggers. Wakanda's technology developed entirely independently from that of the rest of the world, due to them remaining in isolation, and is advanced in almost every single aspect. Wakanda's tech puts the rest of the world to shame, and T'Challa effectively owns every last piece of it, making Stark's stuff look like antiques in comparison.
You should listen. What if I told you we were putting a team together? Who's we?
They're both leaders. One very obvious quality that Black Panther and Iron Man have in common is their ability to lead others. Both men are undoubtedly great at leading, and they've both led a number of different groups of people over the years. T'Challa, for example, is the king of Wakanda, meaning he is the leader of an entire country. Not only is he the country's monarch, but he also leads by example when it comes to combat. As the head of Wakanda's proud warrior tribes, he's led his forces into battle on many an occasion. T'Challa is the very definition of the term fearless leader, and the kind of hero others should aspire to be. Tony Stark leads on a smaller but still very impressive scale, as he has been the head of Stark Industries, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Secretary of Defense, and the leader of the Avengers, as well as the leader of some of the team's spin-off groups. He's by no means the model individual that T'Challa is, so you have to say that the Wakandan king is the superior of the two in terms of his leadership qualities. But being in charge of others is definitely something the pair have in common.
Black Panther, could you ever see yourself joining the Avengers?
One step at a time, my friends. One step at a time.
They've both been part of a number of superhero teams. It goes without saying that both Iron Man and Black Panther are strongly associated with the Avengers. In the comics, Iron Man was a founding member of the team back in 1963, and he's led them on many an occasion, while Black Panther first joined the team a few years after him in 1968. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man was a founding member of the team in 2012, and Black Panther will undoubtedly be joining him for this year's Avengers Infinity War movie. But they've both been associated with a number of other superhero teams in the comics. Stark's superhero resume includes the Avengers spin-off teams, the New Avengers and the Mighty Avengers, as well as the Thunderbolts, and even the Guardians of the Galaxy, as he headed off into space with Star-Lord and company back in 2012. T'Challa's history includes joining up with the Defenders, the Fantastic Four, the Fantastic Force, and the Ultimates. There's another form of membership that Black Panther and Iron Man have in common. They've both been members of Marvel's Illuminati. The Illuminati is an elite secret group of characters who operate behind the scenes in order to prevent world-ending events.
I'm doing what has to be done to stave off something worse.
They initially came together after the Kree-Skrull War, when Iron Man realized that if the 6 founding members had worked together before it happened, they could have collated their own respective information and stopped it. As members of the Illuminati, both Black Panther and Iron Man have at some point been in possession of one of the Infinity Gems, which is another thing they have in common. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the live-action versions of the characters join or help to establish any new teams. Seeing Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark in space as a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy would be particularly freaking awesome.
I am Iron Man. The suit and I are one. To turn over the Iron Man suit would be to turn over myself, which is tantamount to indentured servitude or prostitution, depending on what state you're in.
Their identities are publicly known. If your only experience with superheroes comes from watching movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you probably think that the real identities of them being known publicly is fairly normal. In the MCU, there's only really Spider-Man and Daredevil of the prominent heroes whose identities aren't known publicly. However, in the comic books, it's closer to being 50-50. Seriously, around half of the heroes in the source material haven't let the world know who they really are. Black Panther and Iron Man, however, have both allowed the public to know that they are really T'Challa and Tony Stark. And that goes for both the comics and the movie versions. We all remember Stark rather arrogantly announcing,
I am Iron Man.
to the world in his first solo movie. That openness is undoubtedly a risk, as it means their enemies can target their families and friends. However, for T'Challa, it can't really be avoided, given his role as Wakanda's king, and Stark's textbook narcissism means he simply wouldn't have it any other way.
Listen, my car got taken out in the explosion, so I'm gonna have to hang on to your suit for a minute, okay?
Not okay. Not okay with that.
Wasn't a question.
Other characters have used both of their names. While T'Challa and Tony Stark are the first characters you think of when you hear the words Black Panther and Iron Man, and while they are the characters we've been focusing on this whole video, the fact is that Black Panther and Iron Man are both names that have been used by other people. For starters, Black Panther is the ceremonial title given to the chief of the various tribes in Wakanda, which means that countless men in that position have used the name prior to T'Challa, including his own father, T'Chaka.
Why, you don't approve of all this?
The courts, yes. The politics, not really. 2 people in a room can get more done than 100.
Unless you need to move a piano.
Although it's a hereditary title, one must still earn it. So everybody who's used the name has been very tough and very skilled. The Black Panther mantle has also been used by Casper Cole, a New York City police officer. Cole started as an impersonator of the hero and would later take on the moniker of White Tiger and become an ally to T'Challa. Meanwhile, the name Iron Man has also been used by other people. While everyone from Norman Osborn to Aunt May, yes, that Aunt May, have worn Stark's armors, some have actually taken on his mantle as well. Those characters include teenage engineering student Riri Williams and Tony Stark's best friend James Rhodes. Nobody will ever truly take the place of T'Challa or Stark, however. They're both far too iconic for that.
This is a waste of our talent, Stark. We are leaders of men, not petty combatants.
And that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy it? What else do Black Panther and Iron Man have in common? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more great videos just like this one. Bye for now.